think at this stage it's immaterial. It's up to the person or the accused in this case to say who amongst the individuals that are available that can be able to represent me better. Probably he has been able to see how they go in court, how they're able to conduct the proceedings. And I think he must have felt comfortable that Advocate Mnisi is the appropriate individual to take it forward. So at the end of the day, it was simply a client saying that I want this particular service provider to service me. I know that if I'm represented by this person, the defense that I want to put through to this court is going to be understood, and it's going to be in a manner in which I think it will be able to exonerate us. Definitely, if someone external has been brought on, they would have had to read the case from the inception up until now. That we would have maybe wanted to bring or to call back other witnesses to say, I wasn't there to do cross-examination, so let me start afresh. So certainly we would have dragged the case along. But I think in this case, certain accolades must be given to the judge to say he is really playing his role in terms of protecting and promoting the interest of all the parties that are in court. Looking after the prosecution to say, I want to enable to be able to prosecute these individuals in a proper manner. Also looking at the accused to say to you, there are certain rights that are put to you. I want to make sure that I'm able to protect your rights. In this case, a variety of section 35(3)(d) of saying that the trial must be able to start and end within a reasonable amount of time. So it was elimination of any disturbances which was observed by the court. And there is 33(3)(f) that says a person has a right to legal representation, which in this case, with the introduction of Advocate Mnisi, that's exactly what they were trying to fulfill, to say it is your right to have someone who better understand the proceedings, the procedures and the rules and the certain legislation which is applicable. Let that particular individual be able to assist you. So the judge was simply saying, I want to make sure that the trial is able to start and end within the shortest amount of time, and I'm going to move forward and be proactive and make sure that the issue of legal representation is done earlier on so that we're able to proceed with this matter.
So there's been a lot of reaction to Mzansi selecting Charles Mnisi, Advocate Charles Mnisi that is, as his new legal representation. As you might already be aware, if you're not already aware, December produced a challenge in the SENZO MEYIWA trial where the late advocate Thulani Ngomezulu passed away suddenly after being hospitalized and being on a leave of absence from the SENZO MEYIWA trial, but was watching the trial from home on YouTube, the YouTube that Judge Rata doesn't like, but we're not there, okay? We are not there. Unfortunately, Advocate Ngomezulu passed away, and in his passing away, it presented a challenge in the SENZO MEYIWA trial. There's a phrase, it says, the show must go on. As unfortunate and unexpected as it was that Advocate Ngomezulu passed away, the show must go on. Legal representation had to be sought for Mzansi, and the timing as well fell along with it becoming the end of that session and the beginning of the Christmas New Year break. So it was a lot, okay? It was a lot to process at the same time. So Mzansi was faced with the tough decision of who am I going to pick? Legal aid telling him you can only pick from these guys. These are the only people you can pick from, and then we will pay. And I believe that legal aid had a budgetary interest in mind, because had Mzansi chosen to go with lawyer, legal representation XYZ, who is none of the four above, the session would have stopped. Okay, the trial would have stopped indefinitely, let's say 6 months plus even. Why? Because that new legal representation would have had to read the entire trial all over again from scratch, which means there's a cost, okay? There is a cost to that, and that cost being they have to print out all the transcripts from the trial. If you guys remember, there was a conversation where the judge and Sibanda, where the judge asked, how many pages do you think the trial is so far? And Ram said about 10,000, but the judge said, you've got to be kidding me. Have you been a part of this trial? It is not 10,000 pages. And then the prosecution team said around about 45,000. And the judge says, yeah, we're round about there. We're hitting round about there. So this new person, legal representation, had Mnisi Sibiya gone with somebody new, would have had to read about 45,000 pages. I want you to pick up a book near to you and let me know how many pages are on the book. Books are typically around 200 pages. Imagine reading 45,000 pages, and you're not just passively reading, you're reading for understanding, you're reading to grasp the case, to be up to speed with everything that is going on with the SENZO MEYIWA trial, so that you can therefore represent your client. Now then, that presents another challenge in that that new legal representation would have had the opportunity to call back witnesses for clarification or cross-examination, because they never actually cross-examined them. So this trial was going to be going on and on and on. It was going to be the never-ending thing. So maybe that is where legal aid was coming from in putting those restrictions. However, my question to you is, were those restrictions fair to Mnisi Sibiya in terms of his right to legal representation of his choice? But then there's another side of this double-edged sword. If Mnisi Sibiya had picked legal representation outside of the four who are already in the defense team, that is Rams, Malo, Mnisi, and Umshololo, then that meant the others who are accused and they are being tried in common purpose, their rights would have kind of also been impaired in terms of the trial is now being prolonged. So do you see, there's a lot in the pot. There was a lot in the pot. So for myself, I've made it clear from the very beginning, well, I'd say the passing of Advocate Ngomezulu, that it was in the best interest for Mnisi to pick from the four accused. It's the best interest for him financially, his uncle, his family, the best interest for the other four accused, the best interest for justice. But in the bigger picture, is it really the best interest? So, here's Mpumelelo Zigalala, the legal analyst, and he brings up a few points. So let's continue listening on to some of the points that he brings up. And I definitely want to hear your view. Did he get it right this time? Did he get it right this time with his legal analysis? Let's continue watching on.
Only the defense legal reps that will have a bit of a preview as to the potential conflict of interest that would arise, because they are the ones that are carrying the instructions. They are the ones that have been briefed by their various clients to say, this is my version of events. And if you're in your version of events, you then sort of indirectly or directly implicate the one of the other four accused. That means that you as a legal representative will have to ask yourself this question: who am I going to represent and who am I going to throw under the bus between the two? If you have to answer that particular question, then definitely there's a conflict which is there. And you need someone who's going to be independent, will be able to apply their mind independently to the facts and to the case, and be able to represent their client in a proper manner. So I think in this case, after they've confirmed that they've sat together, they've had the brief and a detailed consultation, Advocate Mnisi knows very well as to what his current client has said to him, and he knows very well the defense that accused number one is going to say to him. And if there's no conflict between the two, then he can continue. But if there is conflict, I think it would have been identified by now, and they would have said, please go and look for somebody else, because I will not be able to do a proper job of defending your legal interest if at one point or another I may implicate you either direct or indirect.
So is there a conflict of interest? Mpumelelo Zigalala, the legal analyst, has given his opinion. What are your thoughts on that? He says there is no conflict of interest because Advocate Mnisi would not have accepted Mnisi Sibiya's request for him to be his legal representative, because he knows, his instructions from accused number 3, and of course he's been part of the SENZO MEYIWA trial, so he might have kind of maybe an idea of Mnisi Sibiya's instructions. I don't think Mnisi and Mnisi Sibiya have had that kind of sit-down session yet, other than what we saw in court in December, which is barely, not enough time. Have they had that one-on-one engagement? I don't think so. I think it's coming. And also as well, we did hear the judge say, hey, Mnisi, go to Ngomezulu's family, request the notes, because, there might be some instructions there that you are not aware of. It looks to me, the judge wants this speedily going through, and he definitely has a huge interest in Ngomezulu's notes. most specifically those witnesses that he refused to name at the time when Judge Rata asked. I'll go back to those clips because Judge Rata was not too happy that Ngomezulu wouldn't give the names at that time, but he let it go. He let it go. Do you think he regrets having let it go then? Is that information lost in Foreverland? I saw some comments in my previous videos that say, hey, the defense team were working together as a team. They probably even know who those witnesses might be. So definitely it's a developing story. Let's continue listening on. Do you think there's a conflict of interest between Mnisi and accused number 3, Prince Mncube? And another thing is, then we go back to the very, very, very beginning of the trial where Advocate Therefore, whom you guys have now fondly called in the comment section, Defonizer. Let me know if you like that name, if you approve that name. We'll see. We'll make it work. Advocate Therefore was actually representing accused number 1, 2, 3, and 4. You already know accused number 1 and 2 wrote some statements which implicate the others, right? Which implicate the other 3, accused number 3, 4, and 5. But Advocate Therefore was representing 1 to 4. So was there a lack of conflict of interest then, or were the statements not yet revealed at that moment? So it's definitely a developing story. I definitely want to hear your opinion on this. Do you think later on down the line, Mnisi will have to drop Mnisi because of a conflict of interest? Or this is it? It's to ketile. He's made his choice. Let's continue listening on, and I'll be back with the rest of my commentary.
My prediction is maybe by June of 2025, we'll have seen an end to this case. With a few conditions. One is that there must be no other delays which are going to be there, no other recording of witnesses that have been called earlier. And if you estimate that maybe one accused will stay in the post for plus minus a week, then within maybe a month and a half, we should be done and dusted, and then we'll be able to hear the closing arguments from the parties and the various representation that will come from the liquor reps. So it is highly likely that the matter will be done and dusted within 2025 or the earlier part of 2025 if there are no other delays that are going to crop.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Possibly this trial will end this year, June 2025. But of course, all things equal. If not, that means that there's no delays, no recalling of witnesses, and then closing arguments will get done. So June 2025, that is Mpumelelo Zigala's prediction. I actually support that. I think I had also mentioned around about June, end of the year 2025. All things even. So that remains to be seen. Let me know your thoughts on what your prediction is. When is this trial going to end? I am definitely looking forward to closing arguments. That definitely will be a very interesting time in the SENZO MEYIWA trial. You know what? That is it from me today. Let me know your thoughts on this legal analyst from Mpumelelo Zigalala. Did he get it right? Did he miss the mark? Are there some stuff you want to also contribute and add on? You know where to go in the comment section down below. I will definitely be there to meet you. Remember as well to like, comment, and subscribe. I absolutely love it when you do. It helps the channel grow and it puts us on those YouTube streets. So I appreciate it every time you do. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you on my next upload.
In this instance, it makes sense for him to brief one of the other attorneys who's already on record for one of the other accused, given that they would be familiar with everything that has thus far been placed on record and all the evidence that has been led thus far, and that would hopefully not cause any further delays in the matter. The further difficulty with that is, of course, that there can be no conflict of interest. So if his version differs from the accused person whose legal representative he decides to appoint, then that could obviously pose some difficulties. An example of this could be where he could place blame on one of the other accused, or one of the other accused places blame on him. That would obviously necessitate a different attorney being briefed, because he would not be able to have the same attorney representing him in that instance. So one would have to now wait and see what he indicates to the court on Wednesday in this special sitting, and whether the court is satisfied that the attorney who he briefs is not conflicted, and that it would not cause any further delays in the matter.